Okay. We're going to kick off this webinar today. Thank you all for joining us for Clockwise first ever product roadmap webinar. We're super excited to have you. A couple housekeeping items before we kick off. First of all, this session will be recorded and we'll share that out with you later. Also, we have the Q&A feature within Zoom active. If you have any questions that pop up as we're sharing content throughout the presentation, feel free to pop those questions in there, and we are going to do our best to answer every single one of those at the end of the webinar. All right, let's go. Today, you will hear from Matt Martin, co-founder and CEO of Clockwise, as well as Meg and Cecily from our product team. And I'm Emily, here to help facilitate the session and answer any questions that may come up as we dive in. We're also excited to see some wonderful existing users of Clockwise joining us today. I'm super excited to see we've got some friends from Twilio. I see we've got some friends from Shipt and Uber on the line. Also excited to see that we've got a bit of a global presence. I see we have some friends dialing in from Egypt, India, France, and Mexico, and that's just to name a few. So I know I'm super excited to have everyone here. Welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your day to see what's next for Clockwise. As for agenda, we're going to spend a few minutes hearing from Matt about the vision for Clockwise as a product and as a company. We'll also hear from the product team on some recent releases, some recent product updates that we've had that you may have missed and are super exciting. And then we're going to spend some time looking towards the future and what's to come from Clockwise over the next few months, later this year, and even beyond. All right, over to you, Matt.
All right, thanks so much, Emily, for kicking us off here. I'm super excited to have everybody joining us for our first ever product webinar. We're hoping to make this more of a part of our operations going forward. So for some of our most critical customers and users, you're always up to date with what we're working on over here at Clockwise. But before jumping into the fun part, the releases of the roadmap, I want to re-anchor on why we're all here, and specifically what drives Clockwise forward. And that's our mission. Our mission is to help the world make time for what matters. And it's a mission that's very personal to myself and my co-founders. We started this company as engineering leaders looking for a better way to operate. We find ourselves constantly in a reactive state, probably a story that's familiar to many of the folks here, jumping between meetings, jumping into code reviews, into interviews, and really struggling to find that time to be proactive, to do the work that matters, that helps drive an impact, that helps build a positive culture for the team, that helps build careers forward. Ultimately, what we found is that the modern workday is broken. It's broken because it's not providing the time for us to do the most important parts of our job and to balance all the various demands of the workday for us. And unfortunately, it's more broken than ever. The pandemic really accelerated a lot of change, where now we're juggling so many different variables, so many different contexts, different time zones, different locations. A third of women have considered leaving the workforce or downshifting their career in the past year, a full third. And we're seeing that our employees, our people, they want flexibility. They want to be able to have more tools, more options to be able to balance all these different demands on their time, because the schedule of going 30 minutes by 30 minutes by 30 minutes, this is broken. We cannot live our lives in these 30-minute back-to-back Zoom calls, trying to constantly juggle the different demands that are put on our plate. We need a better way of operating, because ultimately it's our time. This is how we live our lives. This is how we get to approach our work. And it's also how we return home to our families at the end of the day. So we built a way to take it back. Our vision at Clockwise is to give you a schedule that you love, not just one that you tolerate, not just one that gets you through the day, but one that you love, that allows to give you the time to do the most impactful work that you need and to balance all your important priorities. Now, it's simply stated, but it's a very difficult and ambitious vision, because so many of us don't have schedules we love. And the trick here is that it's not for lack of intent. It's not because we don't know what we want in our day. It's not because we can't drag events on our calendar. It's because the complexity of balancing this network of all the different demands across our teams, across our teammates, across the hundreds of people that we might work with on a daily basis. Clockwise helps by coming in asking what you need and helping to coordinate that across all of these different calendars, all these different contexts, all these different priorities. So that's what we're building at Clockwise, and we're excited to continue driving forward on that vision. We have some exciting stuff to talk about today in terms of items that we recently released that push us towards that vision and that mission of helping the world make time for what matters. And to talk about those, I will hand you off to Meg Glasser, our fantastic product team member.
All right, thanks, Matt. Hi, everybody. I'm Meg. I'm one of our product managers here at Clockwise, along with Cecily, who you'll hear from in a little bit. So now that you've heard our vision from Matt, we wanted to give you a quick overview of the latest and greatest Clockwise feature launches. So one of the problems that we've identified is that people love Clockwise, right? They love the ability to find the best time and to have your calendar dynamically shift with you to keep that best time. But scheduling external meetings remains a challenge, right? You need to be able to take all those preferences that you put into Clockwise and your focus time into account when scheduling. So in order to help solve this problem, we've built out something we call links. So you may have heard this phrase, let's find a time to meet. And for many people, those words are maybe strike fear directly into your heart, make you break out in a cold sweat. And this is problematic for a few reasons. The first, there's this whole back and forth of inefficient coordination. It takes time to schedule a time. It's also hard to manage trade-offs. Depending on the day or the week, it's tricky to find the best time for one person, much less for both people or for several people. And finally, oftentimes, by the time you are able to find a time, this external meeting can become a stray meeting in the middle of your workday or a key block of focus time that disrupts your state of flow. And that's not ideal for having schedules that we love. So we think you and your calendar deserve better. So we built out Clockwise Links. So this allows you to set your preferences and share your links, and then let us handle the rest to help find the best time to meet. So we take all of those preferences that you've already shared with Clockwise into account to offer these best times that are best for your flow and your energy. So you can avoid that back and forth and balance those trade-offs and really have not just the next time, but the best time. So I want to show you now how Links works if you haven't seen it yet in your sidebar. So Links is right here in your Clockwise sidebar. It's easy to create a link that does exactly what you want for exactly the kind of meeting you're trying to schedule. You can customize to best communicate to and set expectations with the person that you're scheduling with. You can set preferences around the length of your meeting, when this meeting is going to happen, and basically what kinds of time bands you're willing to have this meeting show up in. And we support Google Meet and also Zoom options. But most importantly, this Clockwise magic comes in. So you can protect your focus a little bit or a lot, depending on where this meeting slots into your priorities for your week. You can also set additional meeting limits to ensure that these meetings don't surprise you on your calendar, and that you're always prepared and ready to bring your best self into that meeting with your external attendee. And you can highlight your best times to help deal with that back and forth communication of what would be ideal. We support multiple links, so you can support different ways of sharing availability with others. It's easy to just copy your link and share it with the person you're looking to schedule with. They'll see a screen that looks like this. They can look at times against their calendar that work for them and see what works best for you. It's easy for them to then book it. And you've got a meeting on your calendar that includes some of this Clockwise magic we've been talking about. All right, now I'd like to pass it over to Cecily, one of my fellow product managers here, to share some more exciting releases.
All right, thanks, Meg, and welcome everyone. It's amazing to have you here. So switching gears a bit, more and more ops and IT teams are struggling to balance the demand for Clockwise while aligning to secure and scalable provisioning processes that you employ at your organization. So we've heard from teams just like yours that you're getting tickets left and right asking for access to Clockwise. Or maybe you just see your Clockwise seat count growing without control into who is joining what plan, whether that's free or paid. And so you've asked us to help make sure Clockwise can integrate with your existing systems. So we've heard you and we're here to help. And today we're excited to announce that we offer user provisioning via SCIM, which allows ops and IT teams just like yours to do a few things, but namely ease the provisioning burden so you can centrally manage and efficiently provision groups of users to your Clockwise plans, and then to effectively manage your bill so you have visibility and control into who is on what plan. And because we know that this problem and this challenge is most salient to teams at large organizations, it's available on our new enterprise plan. So we can't wait to hear what you think. All right, back to Meg for a glimpse into the future.
All right, thank you. So now on to the best part. What you're all here for, I imagine, is what's to come. So we're going to be sharing our plans here. As a product manager, I'm contractually and ethically obligated to tell you that these dates are approximate. These are not guarantees about scope or when things will be delivered, but we are excited about these problems that we're looking to solve. And we're really excited also to get your feedback on some of these ideas so that we can improve them even before we start to build. All right. So another problem that we've identified is the idea of feeling overbooked and overwhelmed. You saw that image that Matt shared earlier of that calendar with so many small meetings all stacked up back to back to back to back to back. So we've solved for pretty well for those who need lots of focus time to get work done, the makers of the world. But we've heard from a lot of you that your job isn't so much in heads down making, but it's in the meeting. That's where you're doing your job and contributing to your company. And we want to create a better way of optimizing those meetings. So particularly when you have a packed meeting schedule coming up, I know maybe you've experienced the Sunday scaries or the Monday morning scaries, depending on when you look at your week. That moment when you pop open your calendar, you just think, oy, oy, oy. So we're going to set you up for success here and help you better look at your week. So we see Clockwise as the antidote to those Sunday scaries by helping you see what's ahead and then also take action on them without doing calendaring having to be part of your job. So we are introducing meeting conflict notifications. So anytime that Clockwise isn't able to resolve a conflict on your calendar, we'll be letting you know and proactively offering you options for what might not be a totally free time, but maybe another time that you could reschedule a meeting to. And we'll also be working on planning dashboards just so that you can get a different visual of your week and better make it work for you. Another problem that we hear a lot from our users is that finding the best time for an external group meeting is tough. So you've seen our new links feature. We're really excited about it, being able to schedule the best time with an external attendee, but often you might need several folks internally to be on that external meeting. And Clockwise, we already solved this problem internally of how to solve for those people. So we recognize that this is a very tough job to do, and it's even harder to do those back and forths. And so we will be releasing group scheduling to allow you to find the best time for an external meeting with multiple internal attendees. And in addition to some of these bigger pain points we're hoping to solve, we also have a number of smaller feature enhancements, especially around our links feature that we'll be shipping out in the next few months. So some of these include, but certainly are not limited to, a copy best times widget. So we know that some people love the flexibility and the dynamic nature of sending out a URL that an attendee can then check and pick a time that works for them. But for some people, this feels really impersonal, or it doesn't allow you to customize that message and really communicate the way you want with the folks you're trying to schedule with. So copy times allows you to bring that human element back into this scheduling while still including that best times power that Clockwise offers. We'll also be including a reschedule flow for links meetings so that you can easily reschedule to another time if everybody's needs change. And finally, we'll be adding phone number support. So for those who maybe get video fatigue with Zoom or Google Meet, we can do phone number collection so that you can have these use the power of links with phone calls as well. I'm going to hand it over to Cecily, who's going to speak through a couple of other improvements.
All right, thanks, Meg. So switching gears a bit, from links to Clockwise as a platform. We know that there's a need for Clockwise beyond Google Calendar. We hear it from you, and we certainly believe that Microsoft users also deserve a schedule they love. So we hear you, and opening Clockwise beyond Google is in the works. We're in the early phases of actively thinking about and planning for Microsoft 365. So if there's anyone in the audience that's interested in learning more, participating in research, or helping us test, please do let us know, and stay tuned for more updates in a future webinar.
All right. Thank you, Cecily and Meg and Matt, for all the insight into how we're thinking about the future for Clockwise and what's next. For those of you joining us today, we would love to hear what you think about what you saw in the presentation today by upvoting your top requests on the new Clockwise Ideas Portal, which we're going to share out after the webinar as well. Here you can also submit brand new ideas. If there's something we haven't thought of, any tweaks or context that could help you achieve that schedule that you love, we want to hear it, and we're all ears. So please head over to that ideas portal once we share that out and let us know what you think, and stay tuned. We hope to cover it all on a future roadmap webinar. All right, that does it for the main event of the webinar today. Now we really want to spend some time answering your questions, thinking through how we can all achieve schedules that we love. Before we jump into the Q&A, we are going to send out a poll in the chat in case you are interested in connecting with someone from our team to learn more about how you can build a stronger and healthier meeting culture. We'd love to chat with you. So simply respond yes, and we will be in touch. All right, now we're going to start to dive into some of your questions. So again, please pop those into the Q&A function in Zoom, and we will start to answer. All right, let's see. First up, this question is, oh, awesome. I want to be able to put more automatic smart holds. Smart holds are kind of how we book things like lunch on your calendar. I want to put smart holds on my calendar for things like exercise or cleaning out my inbox. Is that something that would be part of the weekly planning dashboard? Meg, I will throw that one over to you.
Absolutely. Happy to answer that. So as of today, we have sort of two pieces to your calendar, right? We have these meetings that only move as part of this reshuffle at 4 o'clock Pacific time or your local time every day. And we have some things like focus time that move dynamically as your calendar changes. And so there's benefits and drawbacks to each, but there's a lot of power in these flexible meetings and the ability to mark things as flexible. If you haven't tried it yet, you can customize down to move within week or move within day, or even time ranges within a day that you want something to move. So me, for example, I have a 9-month-old baby, and I'm still having to make time twice a day during my workday in order to pump. So there's some flexibility in when I can do that. And so what I have is I have a couple of holds marked on my calendar that are marked as flexible within windows, so they can flex around those meetings. So if someone needs to meet at 3:30, for example, that's the thing that can shift in my calendar. And I can get both of those things done and do everything I need to do for my family while also being here and fully available for my job. So I recommend that if you're looking for ways of creating smart holds on your calendar that move dynamically and flex around your other work needs.
Awesome. Thank you, Meg. Another question is around connecting Clockwise with other aspects of a workflow. Specifically, this question is around engineering. Are there any plans to expand Clockwise integrations to tools like Jira or Monday or Trello? I think, Cecily, this is probably a good one for you to speak to.
Awesome, thanks. And that's a great question. So we know that in any person's day-to-day, but especially in an engineer's day-to-day, we need tools that effectively help us facilitate efficient work days and plug into each other. So integrations are an important area for Clockwise and something we actively consider as we look to the future. Right now, we do have an Asana integration. So this integration can help you make time to get work done by ensuring that the tasks and tickets and responsibilities that you have in Asana can be made as blocks of time on your calendar to ensure you have the space and focus to get them done. And you can do this directly from Asana, which is likely where you're tracking and updating your work. So we're really excited about this because it helps you become efficient, but also plug into that magic of Clockwise, because if you opt in, we can help you find the right time to find your focus and complete those tasks. But as you think of new ways to use Clockwise or potentially integrate Clockwise into your broader workflow or existing systems, please keep letting us know via the Ideas portal, because there's certainly more we can consider here.
Awesome. Thank you, Cecily. And then I see we've got a couple questions here around, I think this is related to the links portion of the presentation. So Meg, curious, is the links functionality like Calendly? And then will the external group meeting be available to all plans?
Yeah, so Calendly is a great way to think about it. Calendly really established this ability for folks to share their availability with someone else. There's a big downside to Calendly though, right? Which is that you might say, for example, I'm available 10 to 5 on Mondays, and Calendly knows when you're busy, but it doesn't know when the best time is for you to meet. So if you imagine that you finally managed to find 3 hours to string together, and you're finally going to sit down and organize that backlog, or you're going to actually write some code or whatever it is that you like to do in your heads down time, Calendly doesn't necessarily know that that 3-hour block is not great for you to have something in the middle of, whereas Clockwise does. Clockwise knows that that 3-hour block is focus time. And so we can suggest to that person times that are on either end of that focus time block, so that instead of disrupting you right in the middle, it can work with the flow of your day. And so this can really help it be not a stressful thing that you've enabled external availability to folks, but a really seamless thing to enable external availability for folks.
Awesome. Thank you, Meg. Another question around that I'm seeing in the chat around the integrations. It's great that Clockwise is compatible with Asana. What about similar platforms like Smartsheet?
Yeah, thanks for that question. That's something we can consider in the future, and that's absolutely the kind of feedback we want to hear. So, as you're using tools like Smartsheet or considering ways in which you might want to manage your work and have Clockwise help you find the best time to complete it, please do let us know. But we'll take that note as a piece of feedback today.
Awesome. Thank you, Cecily. And then more generally, Matt, I think this would be a good one for you. Just how does Clockwise think about our partnerships and the other tools that we want to integrate with?
So we're a big believer that over time, Clockwise becomes a platform for time orchestration more broadly, and that requires integrating with a variety of tools, everything from Asana to Jira to eventually even things like Salesforce one day. We've dipped our toe in the water with things like Asana. We have direct integrations to Zoom, and we consider things that are critical path to giving you the best schedule to be essential. But they do weigh against some of the near-term priorities of ways that we can impact a schedule you love. So many of those partnerships and opportunities are a little bit more kind of on the horizon than they are in near-term roadmap.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And then another question, I think around kind of a mobile use case. Are you looking into an iOS app? That would be awesome.
I'm happy to jump on this one. So I would love to hear from Harold what exactly they would be looking for in an iOS app, because love this forum, and I'll treat it with the spirit of full authenticity. We have explored this space in the past, but one of the hurdles that we find is that trying to develop a complete calendar application for the mobile ecosystem is something that we'd be excited to do, but high bar. We all have calendar applications that we love to use. There are great ones out there. And so I'd be very interested to know, and feel free to hit me up at matt@getclockwise.com, but very interested to know if there are specific iOS application parts that would be lesser than a full calendar application, but get you that Clockwise value and magic that you'd love.
Awesome. Great questions. I think that actually does it for what we're seeing come in, but the conversation certainly does not have to end here. Like I mentioned, we will be sharing out not only the recording of this webinar, but also a link to the new Clockwise Ideas Portal. And we'd love to hear what you think and what we can do to help get you a schedule that you love, because we know that more than anything, we care about making time for what matters. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate it. And we look forward to sharing more in the future. And thank you to our panelists. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.